So when I was at Walmart, I passed by a younger 20-something guy heading to the auto care section to grab something. As I'm scanning the aisle to look for what I needed and consider the options, the guy walked into the aisle and right next to me. Conscious of how close we were, I stepped to the side to allow him more room while I considered which option to get. The guy started talking to me and asked which car organizer I would get. I looked at the options for car organizers, not what I was looking at, but figured I would help, and started making suggestions based on what he was looking for. I don't work at Walmart, which was very obvious. He then asked me my name, which made me slightly uncomfortable because I did not know the dude. Something you should know about me is that I was raised to be polite, but I was polite to a fault, and I uncomfortably, without thinking, gave up my first name. He then asked me how old I was, to which I replied my age, under 20 at the time, and I looked younger. He asked where I lived, and felt very uncomfortable by this time, but again, polite to a fault. I said that I lived nearby, and he asked where, so I quickly replied, in town, trying to be careful not to say where. He then asked me where I worked, and at this point, I'm extremely uncomfortable, and aware of all the information he now knew about me. I did not want to tell him where I worked, but he would know if I lied because I was clearly wearing a company shirt. I replied with just the general type of work it was, and he asked where was that at, so I replied with an approximate time to get there, but overshot it on purpose, and did not mention the town name, as there were several branches of the company. The entire conversation happened within the matter of 20 to 30 seconds, barely enough time for me to process. He then attempted to make more conversation, and I either answered with very short replies, or just slight chuckles, to give off the idea that I did not want to talk. He finally said thanks, and walked away. So I started texting my boyfriend like crazy, because I was freaked out, and I didn't know what to do. I'm a pretty small person, so it might seem as if I'm an easy target. So I was standing in the aisle for the next few minutes, talking over text. Suddenly the guy, who seemed very interested in what car organizer to get, came back and quickly put the car organizer down, smiled at me, and left. He didn't even buy the organizer. It was like oh, I shouldn't spend money on this, so I should put this back. It was almost like he just had it as a prop and stopped needing it. Needless to say, I was very careful throughout the rest of the store and had a worker walk me to my car. Edit: it may be important to note that this was right down the road from a human trafficking hotspot. So first I want to update this. I realized that I probably mislabeled the post and do apologize if I have offended anyone. That was never my intention. My intention was to tell a scary situation I was in and to show the realization I had of what it could have been. After listening to a podcast, I realized that I may not have fit the standards of trafficking, but no one would have known about my personal life until they asked the questions. Please accept my apology, and please let the story stand the way it is so that the other people who have been in my situation can relate and express what happened to them as well. Thank you. So my original post: when I was in college, I was out and about with my then boyfriend. We had gone to dinner, then went to Walmart to get some typical college food so we could survive a Sunday in. I was dressed up in a casual dressy fit. We decided to split up while we shopped split apart. We needed to do quicker shopping, but I don't remember the exact reason why. I was wandering the grocery aisles when I noticed a girl that was about my age. In a friendly manner, we casually smiled at each other and continued on shopping. It didn't seem weird at first, but I kept noticing her in the same aisles as me, and a big muscular man was never far behind us. Eventually, I texted my boyfriend and asked where he was, and continued on shopping. Next thing I know, the girl approaches me and says how she loved my jacket. I say, "Thanks, Maurice's," and try to move on. She stops me and says something along the lines of, "Hey, you look like you're my age, and seem really nice. I just moved here for a job and company that my friends and I are starting," and tried to ask me questions about where I was from. I was vague and untrusting with what I said, noticing this isn't normal. Then she said, "I am looking for more people like you and I to work for our company. It's kind of a warehouse job, and I would love for you to be one of our bookkeepers. "You should give me your number," I said. "That is so nice of you to offer me a job, but I am not a desk person and already have a job, which I love." She said, "Well, that's a bummer. I thought we might work well together. Well, would you want to give me your number so we can hang out? I would love to have a friend who can show me around the city." I realized that I wasn't getting out of this situation until my boyfriend showed up, or I gave her my number. Eventually, I rattled off a fake phone number and said, "Hey, I will catch you later. I gotta go." Then I walked away praying my boyfriend would be near so we could get the fuck out of here. While I was looking for him and trying to call him, the girl caught up to me and said, "I tried to call you, but it said the number was out of service." And as I tried to come up with a quick excuse and say, "Maybe you typed it wrong," she saw that my iPhone was unlocked and in my hand. She quickly snatched it and called herself on it. I was so flustered and mad at her that I snatched my phone right back when my boyfriend came around the corner. He instantly recognized that something was up and said we needed to go. When the girl saw him approach me, she looked so disappointed to see him and stopped trying to interact. We ended up buying nothing and leaving. That night, we called our parents and the police. The police said they didn't think it was anything ill-intended, but I was sure it was probably trafficking. I was going to switch my phone number because I was so scared. I blocked them and turned off all location access on my phone. I was too scared to go anywhere alone for a while. I even told my coach, so she knew. A couple days later, I got a text from a random number. It was the girl. She sent a picture of my best friend who was out drinking downtown with some of her other friends. The text said, "I met your best friend. She gave me your number because I told her I was looking for new friends. She showed me a picture of you and I said, 'What a coincidence. I met her the other day and lost her number when I got a new phone.'" About 2 minutes later, I got a text from my best friend that said, "I gave your number to a girl who wants to make friends around here and is looking for people to join her business. And since I moved this week, I thought of you." I freaked out. She was with her and told her to get away and not leave her alone with her. I stayed up worried until my best friend got home. She said she was fine. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone to pick her up. The next day, my best friend apologized and told me to block the number. My friend and her group tried to ditch her, but she kept showing up at the bars they were at. She said the girl was relentless and texted her all night trying to get my friend to go hang out at her place. My best friend also said that when she asked about the business, the girl wouldn't give her many details other than that it was a warehouse somewhere and that would pay her great in town, and if she wanted a tour of it, she would take her. We never heard from this girl again. Today I was listening to a podcast and they mentioned different sex trafficking tactics. 2 were vague jobs where they would pay you well but needed you to come meet them to give more information, and a new-to-town girl who desperately needs new friends. I've been thinking about this all morning and I'm glad I felt uncomfortable and my friend didn't go with this girl, but I am mostly mad the cops ignored my concern and said it wasn't nothing. I hope they wrote down the tip that night, but doubt they did. So I don't usually bother posting anything on Reddit, but I figured that typing this situation out might make me feel better. So I'm 23 years old, female, and live on my own. I just moved out to the area for school and went to my local Walmart to gather supplies for cleaning. As I walked in, I took note of an older man near the entrance that I briefly made eye contact with and nodded at and just kept walking. Looked at folders for a bit and then made my way towards the electronics section at the back to look for a charger. I was making my way through the aisles on the way down, looking at the fall decorations. Lots of them were geared towards kids, so I just glanced at them quickly and turned around to leave. The same man was there. I didn't hear him walk into the aisle, and was holding while inspecting some paper plates with childish Halloween designs on them for kids. I thought this was a little strange, but brushed it off thinking he had grandkids. I left and made my way to the electronics section, where they kept chargers behind locked glass doors. I'm there for about 7 to 8 minutes, and the same old man shows up. At this point, I'm pretty far from where I last saw him, and I see in the reflection of the glass that he's checking out my ass as he walks by. I brush it off because I'm used to men making quick glances like that in public, and left it at that. He's looking at the display behind me, at the other side. He goes to leave, and then this is where it gets creepy. He stands right behind me and starts aggressively eyeing me up and down, while licking his lips, paying particular attention to my backside and my legs. He's basically undressing me with his eyes. At this point, he was giving off massive creep vibes, and I started shaking with adrenaline. I was alone in the aisle with him, and was afraid that he would try to grab me. I stay calm despite my throat feeling like it had a ball in it, and wait for him to leave. He does. Then I go to a random aisle nearby electronics, but in the general part of the store. I noticed there were 2 men behind the electronics counter, and wanted to stay near them if something went wrong. So I waited a few minutes just standing there to see if he showed up. I wanted to confirm if he was following me or not. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, there he was. I caught him quite literally speed walking down the main walkway, looking down each aisle, as if frantically looking for me. He stopped dead, saw me notice him, and then promptly scurried off. So I went to the electronics section and informed them I was being followed and was not comfortable, and asked if there was security. They don't have any, just theft prevention, and they offered to check me out there or accompany me to finish shopping. They were very kind, and I took them up on the offer to get my cleaning supplies nearby. As we turned together, the same guy was standing further away, staring. He literally increased the radius he was using to follow me, and was watching from the front by the registers now. I get my stuff, check out, and then weave through all the clothing sections to leave from a different section than the one I originally entered in and where I saw him from. I didn't see him at all this whole time, so I got into my car, and I promptly drove to my new place, but stopped halfway at a random neighborhood. I pulled over and pretended that this was my house to see if anyone tailed me. I did not want this guy finding out where I lived, and then drove home when I didn't see anyone. I may be overreacting, but this is a new area to me, and I've never had someone be quite that creepy and persistent in following me. I've done things on my own plenty of times, and never had an issue. This all happened in the middle of the day, at like 3 p.m. too. I was wearing loose clothing, and just wanted to make a quick trip in and out. I have no idea what could have happened if I didn't notice, or what his intentions might have been. I can't imagine they were good. Maybe he would have followed me to my new place. Who knows? Either way, the whole encounter was scary. He had no clue I saw his reflection, and the nasty expression on his face. Just stay aware, guys, and watch yourselves. So I live 10 minutes away from Walmart, but I honestly would rather drive 45 minutes to the next town's Walmart. The Walmart by me is just unpleasant. My brother and I once decided to just go because we needed something quick and was short on time. We went in and browsed the electronics section. Sometimes they have cool stuff. With nothing found, I browsed the computers, while my brother quickly looked at LED lights. As I started walking away, I noticed a tall man with white gray hair, walking super close to an older lady. I thought they knew each other. When I passed him, he got super close behind me. My eyes bugged out of my head, as I knew how close he was to my brother. My brother looked behind him because I was walking towards him. His eyes bugged, so I knew I wasn't just imagining it. He got so oddly close, I decided to turn around to see who he was, and I didn't recognize him, and darted in the next aisle, where my brother came up behind me, and said, "Keep walking, he's behind us." Next to electronics, in the next aisle is the art and craft supplies. We kept walking. My brother peered behind us, and he loudly whispered, "Oh my god, he's still following us. Go, go." So we made it to the automotive section, which was the main reason of the visit to Walmart, which I was relieved when there was more people around there than there was in the electronics section. After getting what we needed, we make our way back to the electronics to pay. It was over 20 minutes since we had last seen that Danny Phantom looking guy. As we turn the corner, we see the guy again. Eyes darted right at me, as I tried to ignore it. The ladies at the electronics looked a bit off, and I noticed them speaking Spanish. I picked up that they called security, because the guy was just standing there. Meanwhile in line, The security comes and asks the guy if he was waiting on someone, and he replies, no, and then turned away. After we paid, I told my brother that this is why I don't shop around here. As we walked to the front of the store, the same guy was following us out. We ran to the Jeep and locked the doors. My brother described his eyes as hunting eyes, dead and soulless. I don't know what happened after we left, but now I don't shop anywhere near my home to avoid the weirdos of my city. Thanks everyone for listening. Just a reminder, I'm posting videos every other day. I'm trying to be more consistent. So with that said, if you guys have any stories you want me to narrate, please send them down to the link below. And if you guys enjoyed, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe, which really helps the channel. So with that said, as always, stay depraved.